First up, let's talk about hardware. It obviously depends on what hardware is going to be available to you when you're playing in your service. I don't have hardware synths and keyboards to practice at home, so I prefer to keep all of my sounds in MainStage. These are just MIDI controllers. I should note that I've got a C board here. That's just what I'm using as my second keyboard. I'm not actually using any of the features of it, so just ignore the fact that that's a bit special. So yeah, I don't have the hardware synths like a Prophet or a Mofo like we might have on a Sunday, and I don't want to have to rely on setting up those patches when I get there, and I want to be able to practice with exactly the same sounds that I've got at home. I also don't rely on there being a particular controller, so we might have an Arturio Keylab to play with, which means it's got specific sets of knobs and buttons. I prefer to bring my own controller so that I know that it's exactly the same thing as I'm practicing on at home. You might find that you're able to adapt to different ones, or they have a similar enough layout that you're fine with that, in which case, great, but for me, I like to stick to the same thing so that my muscle memory is the same. One of the things that was important to me when getting a controller, I was working with the Korg Nano Control, and one of the issues with this is you can, during a song, you might be changing this knob up and down and changing all kinds of parameters, and then you switch to the next patch, and in MainStage, this has jumped to there, but I can't see that that's happened on the controller, so I have to look at my screen to know, is my pad filter open or not. So the best option I found was the MIDI Fighter Twister. So obviously this has lights on it, so when I change patch, you can see the lights are jumping around, indicating what position the knobs are in, whether it's things turning on and off, like this, or it's what value a knob is set to. So I find that really useful. Also, I like to rely on the fact that in the services I play in, I always have two keyboards. That means that in cases where I might, if I were on one, need to split for different sounds, I know I've got another keyboard there, so I may as well put some sounds on that to save changing sounds, changing patches. If it can do it, making the most of that, then I will.